I am a pencil neck. So I go on YouTube and on Instagram to discover the best way to work out, the most optimal way, if you will, or like in general, how should I be approaching the gym? And if you go down the internet rabbit hole, you might end up at one of two sides. The first is the bro lifter side that encourages you to lift like the greats, like Arnold did, like Ronnie Coleman did, to just do the classic exercises and train like classic bodybuilders. And the other side is the science-based side, who say you should train based purely on science. Some of these people, Nuance coaching and a few other science-based lifters, have got into a little bit of beef. So we're going to take a look at some of these videos to see who do I think is right, who do I think is wrong, and who do I think you should listen to, because I am approaching this conversation as the average viewer. I, like many of you guys, watch a lot of fitness content. I am not approaching this as someone who is in a position of authority. I'm approaching this as just the average person who wants to make gains. And you're gonna find I have a lot more of a neutral opinion than you might think.
One more. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good. All right. That was probably 0 to 1 RAR. We're doing a single arm tricep extension, dog. Just go for the extra rep. How fatiguing could a single arm tricep extension be? Why are we acting like we're benching 425s? Like, whoa, we gotta rack that. Another rep could be sketchy. It's a single arm cable tricep extension. What are we doing?
This is kind of funny, but no, this is ridiculous. Like, why are we just announcing to the world that our programming sucks?
Okay, so that one line there.
Why are we just announcing to the world that our programming sucks?
I believe this kind of attitude to debating is why we have this like massive feud for some reason. Because my general opinion is, who gives a fuck? Who cares if you train with slightly higher volume or slightly lower volume? Who cares if you go all the way to failure on a single arm tricep extension or you leave one rep in reserve? We all have the same goal here, to get as jacked as possible. And I think it's ridiculous that we've gotten so emotional and some people become so condescending when making these response videos. So in a lot of his videos, he basically says, you're small, so we shouldn't listen to you. Sorry, the cat wants to leave the room. Cat cameo. That if you're not massive, you shouldn't be allowed to give advice or something along the lines of that. But then we also have the science lifters who act like they're better than you, like they're smarter than you, that you are an idiot, a Neanderthal, which I've heard them say a few times. So we have two people basically having a primary school level argument. Overall, should he have gone to failure? Like, does it really matter? Obviously, maybe going to failure every single set might not be a good idea from a pure recovery standpoint, but going to failure relatively often is a good idea because it's always hard to gauge just how close to failure you are. There is some evidence suggesting failure training is better than leaving reps in the tank, and there's some evidence that says otherwise. So I think trying to narrow in on, I can't do that on the internet, trying to like just pick one side is a bit foolish. You should always approach arguments or debates with nuance. What these lifters should be doing is responding to this video saying, I respect your opinion, I personally don't agree, and here's why. And if what your opponent, I guess, says is reasonable, acknowledge that it's reasonable and do it in a kind way. Not just saying, oh, your programming sucks or your arms are small. I am making this video from the perspective of somebody who watches these videos casually and enjoys them, right? I enjoy watching educational fitness content, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, hence why you're on this video, which is why I just don't like this kind of negativity. I think we should be lifting each other up, and I think we should all just be a little bit more chill. Now, we're going to look at a video by the guy who this guy is responding to, Nuance Coaching, and we're going to see if he handles these arguments in a bit more of a nice or nuanced way.
Why does everybody think that they need to bulk?
Because you do, unless you want to hit the forever skinny pose. Just like for the rest of your life.
Okay, so here we have, off the bat, he's calling this guy forever skinny. For context, this dude is natural and he's massive. Look at him. How many naturals are that big? How many? What he should have done in this video, I feel like a teacher explained to two kids why they shouldn't be fighting, but what he should have done in this video is said, well, I think bulking is a lot better for growth and it's the way to get way bigger. That is the strat, and here's why I think that, right? But what he's done is he's immediately gone for that person personal attack. I've seen a lot of videos talk about how, oh, you're not 200 pounds lean, or you're only 160 pounds. First of all, this guy is on steroids, and the guys he's responding to are not. It's not really fair to make that comparison.
If you want to put on immense gains, if you want to put on crazy size, if you want to look like a big bodybuilder, then you're going to have to bulk. You can play this game of maintaining and just staying lean all the time and ending up looking amazing. Like, obviously he looks great. But just at like that angle with that lighting, throw on an XL t-shirt, what happens?
I kind of get what he's saying. I do agree that people should be doing some kind of bulk. Obviously a bit more of a lean bulk approach, maybe as little as an 100 calorie surplus or as high as a 300 calorie surplus, because there's no reason to put on way more extra fat. But this guy ain't skinny. This guy is jacked. Brandon Clark is jacked. He's also natural with elite genetics. So there's very few naturals who could put on a t-shirt like this fucking wide and fill out the shirt. It's not something that happens.
Like, at some point, if you want to look like a freak, if you want to get big, you're going to have to bulk. You're just going to have to bulk. Nobody has ever hit 250 pounds lean without bulking. Never. Not once. And for the short kings, we'll call it 200 pounds lean. I appreciate you too.
Don't worry about hitting this arbitrary amount of weight. If you are 5'6", I have a friend who's 5'6", 65 kilos right now at maybe 15% body fat. If he wanted to get to 200 pounds lean, he'd have to put on like 15, 20 kilos of muscle. Almost nobody naturally is capable of putting on 20 kilos of muscle after their first few years of training. Maybe not in their entire lifetime. Genetics simply don't permit it. So while I understand the point of like bulk, you get heavier and you can cut down, you can end up heavier than when before you bulked, because I bulked. I went from about 67 kilos to 75 kilos. I cut back down, and once I hit 71 kilos on the cut, I was leaner and bigger than when I started at 67, meaning I put on at least 4 or 5 kilos of muscle. I don't think throwing these arbitrary weights around is a good idea, because a lot of people to be 200 pounds lean, you'll have to take steroids. That's the reality. It doesn't matter how good your training is. It doesn't matter if you train like a bro or train like a science lifter. You might just have to take tren. Overall, I'm not going to react to way more of these videos because I think it'd be me saying the same thing over and over again. Listen to both sides of an argument and make up your mind for yourself based on what you think is like the more correct answer or what is the best way to approach it in your opinion. Try things out, experiment. Don't just copy what one study does, because one study is not enough evidence to base your entire training philosophy on. Work hard, train in the gym. When making your response videos, be nice. Be nice in comment sections. Don't just insult each other. Don't call people stupid. Don't, call people skinny and weak and useless. Instead, just argue with the opinion, not with the person. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more, like, comment, and subscribe. But for now, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later. Goodbye, everybody.